Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Today we are going to talk about dogs. Nope, we're going to talk about bulk. Bulk instead of dogs, but dogs is just about as good of a subject. These are my two dogs. You haven't met them before, Chloe and Scout. They are a pain in the butt. Anyway, I'm just here at my store, and we got some bulk in. And one of the things that I do, that I've been doing for quite some time, that I suggest every savvy person in the MTGFinance community does, is at least offer or buy bulk. Of course, we have an advantage being a store to be able to buy bulk. Yesterday we bought some bulk and found some shocklands in it, and today, even just right off the bat, have found a copy artifact out of someone's bulk that they came in and sold. And again, we pay bulk prices, so it's we pay usually $4 per thousand, sometimes $3 per thousand if it's newer stuff. And you always get your money back. You're basically paying for work. And there's a few ways to unload the bulk after you're done with it. There are some buy lists. I've heard some stories, though, if you use the same company with this technique, that will eventually just ban you from using it, because they are doing the same thing you're doing, trying to find actual value cards out of the bulk. And if they just get some, pre-pick through stuff, it's a lot less likely they'll let you keep doing that, keep unloading your stuff to them. And a lot of times it just isn't even worth shipping the stuff off. You don't get enough value out of it just to ship it. So as you can see, we have tons and tons. This is all what we call bulk. This is actually what I call true bulk. There's a difference between bulk and true bulk. Bulk means that it just has a low so it's just that, what, 12, 13 cents if you go on like TCG Player or some other places. Just by weight, that's the minimum that it's going to be profitable to sell a common. So they all, if you go check out MTG Goldfish, for example, you'll go see commons kind of flatten out at like the 12-cent mark. Same thing with uncommons. And all of them will be that. But some of them are actually bulk, and some of them are actually what I call true bulk. And bulk being that they actually have the potential to go up, or at least have some sort of demand somewhere. So they're worthwhile to hang on to, because you never know when a card, especially 3, 4, 5 years down the road, will actually go up in value. Just think of like Mishra's Bauble, for example. That's a perfect example of a card that saw 0 play to a card that saw a ton of play, and it went up to just insane amounts of money. So anyway, this is, since we started the store, this is what we've accumulated. We try to get rid of it the best we can as well. So we offer people to come in and buy at these rates. So 1 common for 5 cents, and they can get up to 50 commons for $2. We even do specials too. We'll give them a box, like a fat pack box, and they can fill it up. I can't remember what we do the rate for that for, and then you can see some of our other bulk rates here that we do it for. And you'd be surprised that casual players, they love this, because they can say, oh, I can buy a booster pack, or I can get 200 commons, or and just build decks out of that. We've actually done what's called a bulk league before, where you could only the tournament, all money went to prize support. So basically you buy out of this, and is basically all the money the tournament. So you buy it, build a deck out of this, and then pay just like a standard tournament, and it just goes all to prize support type thing. And that was fun for a while. Kind of one of the things is in a rural area, or even more a casual store, is you start to see a big divide between competitive players and casual players, and the competitive players eventually will kill the shop if you don't offer casual players some sort of tournament that is appealing to them. So that's where Commander comes in, that's where conspiracy drafts come in and whatnot, and that's what these kind of we like these bulk leagues, because there's nothing more frustrating as a casual player or a kid to come in and play against someone with a $700 modern deck, for example. So this is a way to even the playing field. You'd be surprised how bad some of your competitive players actually are once they get kind of nerfed down to actually playing with the same value of cards that everyone's with. So let's just talk about what true bulk is. True bulk, in my opinion, is a card that has no chance of ever go up in value by the time they reprint it, or just is outclassed by something else in every format. And again, it just doesn't have a unique ability. Very easy to reprint, very easy to replace. So I even have like negates in here, for example. Even though negates see tons of play in standard, and it sees play in modern all the time too, it is basically never ever going to hold value, because by the time it starts to hold any sort of value, it will just get reprinted in the next set. There's actually sometimes cards like these, like Palace Familiar, I won't put in what we call the True Bulk, because you never know when like some sort of blue Aristocrats type deck could show up, and where a 1/1 flyer, when it dies, draw a card, might actually become a card that could be playable. But with more and more sets coming out, and then the kind of the power level of creatures going up, that's probably not going to happen. I'm not as picky with commons as I am with uncommons. Uncommons I really will comb over with the fine, with the fine comb, trying to get anything that has any sort of value. But you can see this kind of stuff is just the perfect example there, like Cloud Manta. This is about as bulk as it comes, a 3/2 flying for 4 mana. You'll never see play in any format. So anyway, cards like Pin to the Earth, all of like the draft, all the stuff that's good and sealed in draft that really puts the formats together. It has no value once it's been opened and used after that. So another good example is this Lightning Javelin, 3 damage for 4 mana. Yep, never will see play. Again, Tormenting Voice has been reprinted so many times that even though it does see modern play every now and again, it's just one of those cards that will be reprinted before it will gain any sort of value. So anyway, then we have what I call just regular bulk. Again, that's why we have so many commons too versus uncommons. Is uncommons I really am picky towards uncommons, so you'll have a hard time actually finding anything decent out of here. Things like Key Runes, even though they have some sort of playability in like Commander to a point, they're easily outclassed by better options. So all this kind of stuff is just plain, yeah, it's just plain garbage. But the casual players will eat it up. Put in tokens that have no chance of really being sold either. Yeah, and same thing with kind of the bulky foils. So anyway, I'm just going to time-lapse it, and we're going to see what we can come out of this box here. We already made our money back by finding a copy artifact out of it. Old cards are really good because they don't have a rarity symbol on them, and that means that they have a lot of potential of finding a card like copy artifact if there's old cards in there. So anyway, so here's a good example of what I consider not bulk, is Druid's Deliverance. Druid's Deliverance is a fog effect that also populates. In the right scenario, this could become a card that could actually see play in a format. And so a lot of times I don't like to bulk these out, because you never know, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, a busted token comes out, or maybe like an end of turn, like Geist of St. Traff token, it's like put a 5/5 into play for 1 turn, and then a populate strategy might actually be good with it. Then this card, could actually hold some value. Plus, these do go in Commander decks, they do go in casual decks and stuff like that, and so they do have some real-world value. And I don't throw them in the bulk bin. So, this is what I'm looking for when I buy people's collections, is stuff like Reclamation Sage. That's kind of the bread and butter. Yes, this card does have chances of being reprinted, but these are very easy to offload. Buylist will actually take them, and I actually sell quite a bit to a lot of my Commander players, and even online we sell a lot of cards of this type, and these type of things do add up. So in the finance community, it's just really about, you do have to nickel and dime. You have to make the that's where your profits will end up lying a lot of times, is in these sorts of things. So I'm going to go ahead and time lapse this, and we'll see exactly. So usually what I do is I sort them out from uncommon to common, because again, I'm a lot more picky with the uncommon, and then we'll see what we find from this collection, and see if we find some other gems like copy artifact.
A few moments later.
Alright, so as you can see, this is my haul. I do it upside down, by the way. You can see that isn't for the camera. I actually do it upside down to check this. It's easier going from right to left to see the set symbols, which also allows you to see the rarity. So that's the whole point of doing that. As you can see, this ended up being not that bad of bulk. There's a lot of old cards in here from Portal. It doesn't seem like the majority of cards are from recent sets, which is really good. Only saw a little bit of Kaladesh, a little bit of Our Devastation. We had some dual decks in there, which usually has some juicy targets in it. So this should be a pretty good haul. So the next step I would take after this, after sorting them into rarities, trying to pick out, before we got this bulk, I think Zach already picked out all the foils and rares. I see a pile of foils over here, so I'm assuming that was in this lot. Usually we do the customer solid by taking out all their rares and foils and then pricing those out for them, and that way you build a rapport with your customers. They're more likely to sell the bulk time and time again if you pick out cards for them that might be worth some value. If we would have seen a copy artifact while they're here, we would have given them some value based upon that. So instead of boring you with the next bit of where I would sort this, I would go into sets. I would cut out the legacy sets and probably like pre-Innistrad, maybe pre-Zendikar, maybe pre-Scars of Mirrodin. That's usually the time period where even commons have some sort of value, and those I want to pick over a little more closely. I don't want to leave anything. I don't want anything worth 50 cents to go into the bulk bin, for example. So that's why I go from older sets and rarity, because I'm gonna scrutinize that a lot more. Yes, if I miss a Grimog Angler, that sucks in the long term, but it's not that big of a deal. If I miss like a $4 common though, that's the whole point of doing this this whole sorting. So I'm just going to sort this out, not bore you with the rest of it, and we'll see what this haul ends up getting us.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Alright, so now I've got it all sorted down into the piles that I have from the bulk that we got in today. So there was some good stuff. The card conditioning wasn't the best on some of these cards, so that'll ding down the value. Looks like they got some humidity, so some of the cards on the edges, like this Azorius Signet, for example, if you can see the edges on that are kind of warped. So of course that will take those down to MP or HP on some of them, but a few others were in pretty decent shape. I guess the highlight is still the copy artifact. We didn't find another card nearly as valuable as the copy artifact. A couple Boros Charms and regrowths, $3 a piece. Then we have a pile of $2 cards. For Steel of the Godhead, we have some Slippery Boggles, some Beast Within, some Wood Elves from it's the Rebecca Gay, I think is how you say it, from the starter, which is actually worth the money. Funny how artwork actually matters for a card like this. And then a Mother of Runes. And then the $1.50, at the $1.50 mark, we have like a Spore Frog. It is in medium play shape. Stubborn Denial and Vandal Blast. These are two cards I love looking for because they actually sell quite easily. Of course, Stubborn Denial sold like crazy a few months ago when Death Shadow was on top. It's kind of backed off a little bit. It's still a good card. You'll be able to sell these easily for $1 a piece. Vandal Blast keeps going up, 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 up. It's what I call the Cyclonic Rift for red for Commander. I always look for those when I'm sorting out bulk. Some Spirit Mantles. I expect Bogles to have a comeback, which is funny because it looks like this person must have had a Bogles deck. 2 Rancors, 2 Spirit Mantles, these Slippery Bogles. There are some other pieces. Looked like a budget little Bogles deck. And then a few dollar cards in the form of Druid's Call and Wear and Tear. And then we have a ton of like the 75-cent cards. Then of course there's a bunch of 50-cent and 25-cent cards. I just didn't bother to kind of take them out. So yeah, like Fog Banes, Explosive Vegetations, Hyena Umbras, Sylvanas Ledgewalkers, Halmar Depths, a Foil Voyaging Satyr. Those all have real world value. Okay, so that is basically the whole reason why you sort bulk. These are things that you can sell quite easily, or you can trade up into bigger things. I highly suggest using a trading service like CardSphere. Just a little bit of a plug for them. I have not met a better team than CardSphere. They are so receptive to just constructive criticism, or like if I'm like, I ask them, well, I like this feature that was on Puka Trade, are you gonna implement it? Oh yeah, we're getting to it. They even though they're a small team, they seem to listen and take everything into consideration. And it's just been a pleasure to communicate back and forth with them. So anyway, this is where cards like this are perfect for it, because you can send these off in a package, just in an envelope. That, you know, when you're on a bunch of these cards for a stamp, and basically you're trading a stamp and an envelope for points that then can go towards either cashing out or trading for other cards. So that's how I like to do it. That's preferably what I like to use services like that for. Anyway, back to bulk. So then we have what I like to call the two categories of bulk. Not true bulk. We already sorted out all the true bulk. And that is cards that see play. So they have real world value, but it's still very similar to the, like 20 cents for a common, maybe 25 cents for a common, and then about the 30 cents for an uncommon. That's real value. You can actually sell these for that amount. You can actually buy list a lot of these for 5 to 10 cents if you actually do want to buy list those type of cards. that's always I know a lot of people do go that route. In fact, that's one of the, I believe it's the Quiet Speculation. They have a scanning program that actually scans cards and then puts it, you're supposed to put it in piles, and those are buy list piles, and then actually will print off like a ledger to send off to the place you're buy listing them to, so it makes it all streamlined. And these like 5-10 cent cards actually add up. So anyway, it's like cards like a Johnny's Pride Mates, Dark Deals, Reclamation Sage, Full Moon Rise, Become Immense, those Murderous Cut, these all the Anglers, Shaman, all of these are cards that see play in modern decks, or like Banishing Light and Merciless Executioner have a lot of pressure from Commander. Yeah, just scanning through this, these are some of our loots that we found. These cards could go up in value. A lot of times it holds them back because they do get reprinted a lot, and therefore their value stays pretty stable at that 35 cent, below 50 cent, but above 25 cent range. Same thing for uncommons. We've got a bunch of lightning strikes out of these. This was an uncommon out of Ixalan, so I expect these to go up to about $1/4 a piece when they start seeing tons of play in the various Ixalan standard decks. So again, some more of the Bogles type list, like Spider Umbras, Explorers, Gnaw the Bone. That's in a Dredge. Dredge usually likes Gnaw the Bone or Living End. A lot of times we'll throw this in their sideboard. Wirewood Herald is very Commander, Elvish Mystic, and Elves, Impact Tremors, Commander, Explorers. Those type of cards have real world value. So that's all. That's just a win to have that. Then this is just a kind of a I don't like just to throw these type of cards away, or just throw them into what I call true bulk. These are cards that I've sold before, or I just know that I've played with them in Commander decks, or I just know that they have some sort of appeal and have value, but they are harder to sell. So cards like Mist Ravens, Aqueous Forms, the Seraph of the Dawn. I've actually sold so many of these for some reason. Generate Servants, Hoplites, a lot of popper type cards like Husks and Mardu. Skull Hunters, these are just cards with unique abilities, or are just better than the average bulk card. So they have seen some sort of constructed play at one point or another. You know, it's even modern decks and popper decks use the Fairy Miscreant from time to time. Caustic Caterpillar is actually one of the most played cards in the Commander, the Marion deck. So, for example, those are the type of cards you just want to keep aside. And you never know when there's going to be a buyer for these, and more than often you will be able to sell these type of cards rather than just have them rot in a bulk bin. So anything with any sort of unique ability, so Raid is a key mechanic from a set, those are harder to reprint. And again, those could be, just look at Lorwyn, for example, when Hapatra came out, a lot of things with -1/-1 counter, since it was a theme to that set, spiked up incredibly amount of value, even though they're never going to see any sort of constructed play, just because all of a sudden Hapatra decks wanted them. So again, you never know when that sort of thing is going to come into effect. So uncommons, same theory. I'm a lot more picky with uncommons. As you can see, the vast majority of cards were commons out of the bulk we bought, but you can see the cards that I kept. I kept a lot more uncommons than commons, because usually they do have a lot more unique abilities, like Beastmasters, Heir of the Wilds, Raider's Spoils, Foul Tongue Invocation, Ultimate Prices, Clash of Wills. This card at one point did actually have some real value when it was in Standard. Encasing the Ice is a sideboard for Merfolk every now and again, and you can Condemns, those type of cards, Banisher Priest, Spoonweaver Giant. Those are all things that I have sold to Commander players before. That's a Commander favorite with Aether Eyes. Battle Masteries. I'll just kind of fan through this so you can see what I kept. A lot of times, again, I'm a lot more critical of uncommons than commons, because you can actually send these off quite easily. So, again, I hope this has been a nice little change of pace from the usual Market Monday. I had a video put together, but I think it actually makes more sense for a Rogue Market, because Rogue Market's going to be the more highly edited videos. The Market Mondays are just going to be about a topic, like how I actually use Magic, finance in day-to-day operations. So, hope you enjoyed this video. I think this was a win for this bulk. Again, there's my loot, and yeah. Any questions in the comment section below? I'll try to answer them. Or if you have any specific MTGFinance questions, you can always email me. I'm not the best at responding back on social media or email, but occasionally I do. This has been Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.
A lot of boring math later.